How are you? Good.
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So thank you so much for doing this with me for my senior project. My first question is for the VAST program, what was your application process like?
It was relatively simple. Aside from writing the essays, filling out the application was easy enough. Getting recommendation letters from my teachers was pretty simple. I just had to ask them. And then for the essays, I put my authentic um my thoughts into words and I wrote my essays just like that. So that's how the application process went for me.
And then how did you previously how did you hear about the VAST program and what got you interested in the VAST program?
So I did VSCS or Virginia Space Coastal Scholars originally. So because of that, they said if you want to continue to do a program like this next year, do VAS or VEST, and I chose to do VAST instead.
Okay. How would you compare VSCS to VAST?
I feel like with VSCS, you work only with your own group, the group that you were assigned to, and it's much easier. Collaborate with a lot more than just your teammates. You collaborate with almost everyone involved in that program. And it also gets relatively harder as it progresses on.
Okay, yeah. And then what was your ultimate decision? Like, what really led you to decide to undertake the VAST program? Because it's quite a commitment. What ultimately led you to want to do it?
I want to pursue a career in aerospace. I really enjoy aerospace as a whole. So, doing programs like these give me an insight to like how the field is currently like and what I might do if I decide to continue pursuing that field.
Okay. And then moving from the application process to the online portion, what were how did you feel about the online portion of the program? Like, what did you struggle with and what did you excel on?
So I did really good on the quiz portions, the reading portions, and the just this simple application assignments like that. But like there's a quite a lot of essays to do during that online part, and that's probably the hardest part for me. I think it's the hardest part for a lot of people because it requires so much time commitment and you have to be original, it has to be authentic. So that was probably the hardest part for me.
Yeah, me too. I definitely, during that part of the program, the technical report specifically, I definitely struggled with my procrastination. And from the people I've interviewed, they all procrastinated as well. Like, from after the online portion, you can be selected into the summer academy. So, what team were you on for the summer academy?
I was on Mission Transit, and I have to say that was probably the best team ever. So, yeah, best team ever. I was on Mission Transit.
Okay, and then can you expand on your team and what your team's purpose was for the mission as a whole?
Okay, so my team's purpose was the more technical aspect. So we had to come up with a Mars mission of how to get from Earth to Mars, um, collect sampling from Mars, and then how to get back to Earth. So the main part for our team was how to get there and how to come back. So we came up with like what rockets we were going to use, how we get into space, the transit time, the entire timeline basically of the mission. So we had a pretty important role in in the whole mission. And we figured out how to get down on Mars. Uh, we figured out how to get on with into the entry of Mars, the descent and landing of Mars, and then we figured out how to um, get back up into space and then get back to Earth. So that was mainly our focus for the mission.
Okay, and then in mission transit, what exactly do you have to do? Like what were your tasks and responsibilities during the mission?
So for me, I was the system manager in Mission Transit, and I was the team leader, you could say, project lead of our current team, of that team. So I was basically coordinating with the other system managers of the other teams, making sure we had the same uh, data, making sure we're consistent. So like I gave them information about our rockets, the payload capacity that we need, the current timeline, and then the information that my team needed from other teams, I relayed that information. And so I collaborated with both my team and other teams, and that's what I did.
Okay. And then so you said you collaborated with other teams. What which team specifically did you like collaborate with and for what purpose do you collaborate with them?
So the team that I technically majority I collaborated with all the teams, but our team mostly was very um interactive with mission integration and human factors because mission integration, they are in charge of making sure the mission runs smoothly, everyone's working cohesively, and then human factors is making sure the humans stay alive on during in transit and while on Mars. So we had to ensure we had all the correct systems, that uh, it was accessible for everyone, that we had good budgeting funding for all the rockets. So that's what we did with other teams.
Okay, and then with collaborating with other teams, looking back, do you think you're like good at this? Do you think you struggled with this? Or how do you think it was collaborating with all these teams?
Honestly, everyone was super nice, so it wasn't too much of a hassle with me. There wasn't like I thought I would have to negotiate a lot with other teams, but everyone was just really understanding. So it was definitely a fun experience. It was not that hard to collaborate with everyone.
Regarding the collaboration with teams, there were also as a systems manager, you were able to post on that what was it? Like
It was
a
like a message form, so I can communicate with other system managers.
so you could do that constantly, right?
Yeah, it was never ending. Yeah.
But were you also, because there were also the scheduled meetings that you could have, like 10 a day. Did you also attend those, and what did you think about those?
So those were meetings. So the forum is different from the scheduled meetings. With the forum, I could communicate basic questions about like if does this budget need to be this much amount or how much do you want to like carry on this specific rocket? So I could ask simple questions like that and I'd get a response immediately. But if it's something like an important topic regarding like for instance um like space law or a transit authority, something like that, if that was or like a topic that need not be discussed within the message forum and needs to be actually discussed about and talked about, those would be the scheduled meetings with people from other teams.
And as a systems manager, did you ever attend meetings for like different people on your team, like that, like to join them? Like different roles did you attend with them?
Yeah. So there is a specific meeting about the transit. It was a transit meeting with human factors. I attended that meeting to help out my transit specialist on my team. So since I had like a good idea, good of what is required, I gave information. My transit specialist also gave some information. So I just like it's also good for me to keep notes on what my person says and also what the other team says, so that like I have everything on hand. And if there's any changes, then I have to make that change.
Okay. And you said that you were the systems manager. Can you expand on like what was your like major impact on the team and what responsibilities you had being in that role?
Yeah, sure. So if my teammates ever had any questions, I would obviously use the message forum. Let's say they had an issue about like maybe like a system that did not match up with what's going to be transported on the rocket or what human factors needed. So I could reach out to other teams and ask what their ideas are on this and what they need from us and how we could resolve this issue. So my team focused on one thing and I just focused on making sure they get the information they need in order to make the mission work.
Okay. And then looking back on the VAST program as a whole, what do you think that your strengths were during the academy? Like, what do you think you did well with and excelled with?
I think I did well with the negotiation part and the overall presentation at the end and answering questions. So, as a system manager, it's my job to know like the ins and outs of what my team did and what we basically like what the entire week what we did. So, it was my job to know like bits and pieces and like how they all came together to make our part of the mission successful. So, I gave a brief overview on that while my specialist knew the specific details. So I did pretty well with the presentation and the Q&A. My team did well. And I think, yeah, and I gave a pretty good final presentation at the end. I gave a very um, elaborate presentation on what our team specifically did and how important of an impact that we made. So that's it.
Okay, and then you talked about the final presentation, which was like the panel. Can you like talk about your experience with that and what you thought about that final presentation? Like if it was stressful for you, if you enjoyed it, if it made you nervous, public speaking, and how you got over that and all that.
Yeah, so it was similar to BSCS, Virginia Space, but it was obviously a lot more pressure, a lot more nerve-wracking. I was obviously nervous because there were a bit of hicks here and there with other team communication, but overall it went pretty smoothly. It was a pretty good presentation. I'm sure the people who are the NASA officials who were watching us present and ask questions understood what we were doing and were, I guess, impressed by our team's work. So overall, it was a good presentation.
Okay. And then going back to like your strength, what do you think your weaknesses were during the academy? And what do you think you struggled with the most during your experience at at the program?
Probably struggled with communication and understanding everything that was going on within my team because things just kept changing. And as a system manager, I had to know everything that was changing, but sometimes uh, things just happen. They just changed just like this, like with a snap of my fingers. And I wouldn't like be able to catch up. So if I missed that piece of information, I'd have to double check with my specialist. And then obviously I'd have to get that changed. So there was a one really big thing that happened during the entire week was budgeting. It was a very big issue as our team, especially my budget specialists, were very like terrified. They were just it was pretty hectic that entire budget problem. So that was one really big issue that was ongoing throughout the entire week. But aside from that, I don't think I had that many weaknesses.
Yes, I remember the always were like changing. And I remember for the budgets in the beginning, we sort of struggled with our meetings, but eventually we were able to all like grow and like learn together how to better run those meetings and find a method for doing so. So it was definitely interesting to see how we progressed through the week.
Yeah.
And then in the program we're able to do a lot of like once in a lifetime experiences, like go on tours and hear from professionals and like can you like give like a brief overview of like specific like tours or like talks with professionals that you really were interested in and really enjoyed because of the program?
Yeah. So one important speaker that I remember pretty well was the astronaut Roger Crouch. He was a astronaut who didn't have many opportunities in his lifetime because he was colorblind, but he got to be an astronaut. So and I that was a very like enlightening conversation, gave me some insights into his field of work. And then one of my favorite tours was probably the gantry because I got to see a pretty big pool. It was a nice simulator to look at. And yeah, there was a lot of fun stuff that happened at Langley.
Okay, and then can you give a brief overview of kind of like what a day in your life was during the program and like what you did on a daily basis and yeah.
Sure. So Me and my roommate, we'd me and my roommate, we'd get up in the morning, we'd get ready, we'd go downstairs and we'd meet up with our team. We'd go and eat breakfast, and then we all got loaded up on the bus, and then we headed straight to Langley. And then during our time there, we got to hear um, information from specialists in their fields, and we got to work on the project all together. We attended meetings that was pertaining to our current issues, and then during lunchtime, we got to actually interact with the people who currently work at NASA, like actual interns and actual employees who work at NASA. So they gave it back home, eat dinner, and then we'd once again all work together in our private teams. And then overall, it was really fun. That's what I liked.
And what did you think about like living in the dorm for a week and like having a roommate? And like, was that like your first experience with like kind of like being independent for a week and like sort of like what you'll have to do in the future for college and that kind of like learning about those responsibilities?
It was not my first time, but it was definitely my best time. Me and my roommate had so much fun during our time together. We had a lot of laughs. We had a lot of stressing out moments, but overall, like, yeah, I look forward to having a roommate like her when I get to college one day. So yeah.
Yeah. And also, um, did you ever have to like stay up late or like sort of lose sleep over the academy? Like, was that a stressful thing that happened during your time? Because I remember some people have mentioned that the stress and lack of sleep.
So for system managers especially, a lot like lack of sleep for sure. Me and my roommate, like she had an important job as a budget analysis, and as there was a constant budget problem, obviously she was stressed out of her wits. I also had a problem with like a bunch of people on other teams, like what's it called? How would you say it? Insufficient information, you would say it wasn't precise enough for me because I needed precise information, accurate information in order to carry out our current like mission duties. So yeah, it was a lot of staying up late at night.
I feel like this like the communication through like those like messages or through the meetings is very interesting because it's kind of like how it would be structured in real life, and it's interesting to see like that's probably a scenario that would happen in real life, and like we're learning now how to like deal with it and like having prior exposure to it. And yeah, it's I think that's a major thing of the VAST program, being able to be like be able to see these real life scenarios at a young age, and it's really interesting to me. And then so
Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty good comparison. I'd say it's a pretty good comparison of what actually would happen if this were a real life scenario. It may be a little bit less stressful, but yeah, it's definitely a good like parallel to what actually might happen.
yeah. And then so in the VAST program, what would you say is your overall favorite part of the program?
Honestly, after the presentation was over, um, that was probably my favorite part because it was just generally very stress-free. Everyone just got to hang out together. All the girls on my team, we just hung out together, and like girls from other teams, we all hung out together. So it was very chill, very, very fun. Honestly, I was a bit sad of seeing like our team disband, but we had a great master teacher, and overall, like the entire experience was fun because we had just such great teammates and a great master teacher.
Mhm.
So yeah.
I think everyone there was definitely very welcoming, and like all the interns and master teachers were like ready to help. And it was really interesting to be put into an environment with like-minded people and like being able to work with them. And like not everyone wanted to do aerospace. It was interesting to see like mechanical, biomedical, and like just like all sorts of people just working together because that's definitely something that happens in the real world. And then, do you have any like advice or tips for students going through the application process for VASTs?
I'd say to not worry too much about the application process because you most likely will definitely get in. It's not too difficult, but honestly, staying committed is the most important part. Push it through and you'll be able to do it.
And then do you have any advice during the online portion, like with the technical reports and the quizzes and the readings?
Try to stay on task, don't procrastinate, don't fall too behind. If you don't want to be stressing out at 11 in the night over a technical report because these aren't due at 11:59, they're due at 11:55, and sometimes the entire website like will crash and then you won't be able to submit on time. So make sure you get your work done before the day comes.
Yeah, I definitely should have done that, but it's okay. I got through it. And then, so do you have any advice for students during the summer portion of VAST?
Try not to get too stressed. It's a fun opportunity, a good learning experience. It'll all work out in the end. Yes, it's definitely stressful, but it's also definitely very fun. Everyone is very understanding. It's not like anyone's gonna pounce on you if you do something wrong. So don't be too stressed. Just have fun. Do it your own way. Yeah,
Yeah. And then looking back, do you think you're satisfied with your decision to participate in the VAST program?
definitely yes. I'd say it's the highlight of my experiences. I put it on my college apps. It's a very good activity to put on there. You earn college credit, and it's also a super good opportunity and good experience if you want to go into the aerospace field. So I have no regrets.
And then do you know of, or do you think there'll be any lasting effects of this program that you will use in your future and in your future endeavors?
Yeah, definitely. I've learned a lot more information about NASA than I ever could have learned by just searching it up online. Um, and yeah, it's something that'll keep with me forever.
And did you like learn any like just like skills or soft skills at your time at VAST that you think will be useful for your future?
Yeah, so collaboration's one thing. I had like maybe some problem solving skills, project management, good communication, staying committed, those kind of skills.
Yeah. And then do you just have any final remarks or anything else you just want to say about the VAST program or any advice you'd give?
Sure. So this program was honestly the funnest program I've done yet. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I recommend this program. I highly recommend this program to anyone who's willing to put the effort, do the work, and have fun.
Yeah. Okay, so that is all for the interview, and thank you so much for doing this with me and helping me with my senior project.
Yeah, of course.